It's been a big weekend of motorsport with SVG dominating at Sonoma. Young Feeney continues his rampage with a Brody Kostecki getting a singular win, and Damo's returned from the Sunshine Coast. Welcome, Damo.
Thanks, mate. And I've also brought this lurgy back with me. So I am suffering with the man flu. And for all the blokes out there, you know how tough it is. We do get hit worse. It is scientifically true.
Yes.
So give us your likes, give us your subs, because I need all the help I can get right now. I'm going to try. If I do have a coughing fit, I'm going to switch to Steve. It'll all make sense. But you know what? I'm really keen to talk about this Feeney domination because I know how much you love him, Steve. I'm gonna roll the intro.
Very good, Damien. Well done.
Let's save you.
It's given me a moment to get my thoughts together on that bombshell. My brain couldn't compute the fact that I was a Feeney supporter, and
Steve loves
it broke
Feeney.
Down. No, actually, to be fair to Feeney, it's less about Feeney and more about the team, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, there's not much you can fault about his performance on the weekend because he's finally responding to all of that criticism and feedback you've been giving him for the past year. And he has stood up and delivered and said, "Hey, Brown, weekend racer, I'm just going to take this one to the bank."
It was a bit cheeky, isn't it?
Yeah,
Very cheeky from Feeney. But what I loved the most about Townsville, and it wasn't the winning that Feeney did and the domination and the fact that I was crying into my pillow. It was actually that Feeney dropped it like I was going to be really mean. Like Whincup did in Tassie all those years ago.
Yes.
Onto the grass, couldn't hold the slide, ran out of talent, just like his boss.
I sort of felt like, it was all about to happen. And then somehow he just managed to kind of go, I'll just dip it back onto the tarmac because it was starting to look very ugly when he's thrown off the grass there.
Yeah, it was. But he rescued it. And in the team's meeting, Whincup says all the greats do it. Well, I'm not sure about that, mate, but you definitely did.
Did SVG, McLaughlin, any of those champs, did they? No, I don't think they did they?
No, they got car control.
I think so. Well, I'm waiting to be proven wrong. Someone's going to put, don't you remember in 2020? Yeah.
Sure. I'm sure there was occasion. Maybe I blocked it from my mind, but the Whincup one always stands out because I'm pretty sure he almost did it again at like Gold Coast one year and stuff. Like he was never a great celebrator. It was always a 50-50 chance of him binning it, kind of like Anton did those years ago in the DJR car at SMP. That was a beauty. So
maybe it's just a bit of Townsville too that celebrations always go right because Will Davo
Davo got
he hit the wall. So maybe there's something bad about celebrations there. I don't know.
Can I tell you, talking about celebrations and stuff and Sallies, because we love a Sally being Hawk supporters, Hawkball and all that. Not that we went well last weekend.
No.
But in saying that, SVG's burnout at Sonoma, oh my freaking God, that boy, whether you like him or hate him, there is one clear thing that he does very well, and that is a great burnout. And going past his pit complex, absolutely sideways, like just high-fiving them on the way through.
Yeah.
Mate, that cinema was epic. And before I let you go into it, kudos to NASCAR, who allow or forget about OH&S and allow the video guys and the photographers to get into position to get those mint shots that we love. God, I wish Supercars did that.
They got close too. They were really close. Yeah, like I was thinking about it. I was just like, our Summer Nats, there needs to be an SVG trophy for Fairnicum. Like, the Myers of the world that dominate that burnout scene in Summer Nats, like SVG is that equivalent. He's just always delivers. So I think that high five was one of the best. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Just that is hands down one of the best things you'll ever see. If you haven't seen it, find someone with KO and go and watch it, because it's unbelievable. Unlike his kick this time around, which went about 40 meters high and 10 meters forward with that rugby ball.
Like, is that going to clear the fence? Ooh,
no.
Okay. No.
Not this time. Like, to be fair, for a guy who doesn't play rugby, he's got a half decent kick on him. So it's not that bad. He just didn't quite strike it that time around, did he? No. But yes, I guess we should probably move into Supercars. We'll touch back on the NASCAR a little bit later, Damo.
Okay.
So let's talk about results. Obviously, we had Brody Kostecki taking out his first win with DJR on the Friday afternoon.
Yes.
We're all at work, mate.
Yeah, well, I was flying home. You're most people were working. And there's the first mic knock. Love it. Yeah, that was great to see when I kind of landed, and we posted up that he'd take his first win. Yes. It was amazing that finally he's been added to that list from DJR to take a race win, but it was kind of a little not uneventful, but it just kind of happened, didn't it? There was not enough fanfare, and it was just like he disappeared for the rest of the weekend. I just wish he could have carried it on, because it would have made for a really great weekend for him.
Well, that's the problem, right? This is the problem we're having right now, and this is why Triple Eight are dominating so heavily. Is the inconsistency across the rest of the teams to be there every race. It's just not.
That's one of my talking points.
Oh, sorry. We'll get. All right. I'll let you have the talking point. It's just a small thing. Right. We won't get into it heavy. All right. We'll move on from that. Damo can bring that up. We'll save that thought for later on. But So Tickford up and down, DJR up and down. Jackson Evans. Which black cat did he run over again? Because that kid, his last 6 or 7 races, hasn't finished one.
And there hasn't really been, like, you've never, you know how with like some of the Cooper Murrays, or like some things that happen where you're like, mate, you shouldn't have been there. You shouldn't have. He really isn't even in the wrong position. It's just like bad timing almost every time, or it's the car issues. Like, he's just gets in the wrong spot and somehow ends up crashing the car, doesn't, engines, or like, it's just, he cannot win a trick at the moment.
He's encompassing his inner Brad Jones.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, Bradley. Except, Bradley always ended up on his lid, I feel like. Whereas,
the Aussie marker, he did.
Yeah, he did. But at least with Jackson, it's got to come eventually, like, in terms of just not getting caught up in those things. I mean, I know it's a lot to do with being down the back and these things happen, but he's had a lot of unlucky incidents in the last couple of rounds anyway, and he's just too good a driver to get caught up in those things, I feel. So hopefully his luck turns around. But speaking of stunts and things like that, so we saw an interesting one where in the second race, which is, I believe, race 21, according to Supercars, Randall got into Waters, which turned Waters all the way around. Waters recovered beautifully, and then Golding stunted it 2 wheels over the top of Randall.
Yeah, well, I will just add that this weekend, the comment that, from the prior one was, he's never raced here, remember, of the Feeneys.
Oh, yes.
how many times do we have to hear about how great that spin was and how lucky he was? And oh my gosh, just okay. Yeah, it was great in the moment. And it was one of those things where he correctly got out of trouble. And
plucked the
but
gear.
we don't
away
need to
he
hear
went.
all weekend, Scafey. Like far out, man. Seriously.
I know it's the constant, and I listened to an Aaron Noonan podcast.
You're making a habit of this.
Oh yeah, no, he keeps having people on that I actually don't mind and want to listen to. So it's less about Noons and more about his peeps. But yeah, I think it's interesting. He was saying, it's really hard, and he'd know, to cover 7 hours of, 3 days and everything. And I 100% feel you, right? Like it is. It'll be incredibly difficult. It's hard enough doing this for an hour than, doing that for 7. Like I totally understand and empathize with them. But I think that comes down to a failure on supercars, because for me, these weekends don't need to be this long. They just don't. We make them this long. Like,
no,
they want, we want all the eyeballs. And I was actually going to do this, but I didn't, which is poor on me. So sorry. But we race about as much as NASCAR. In terms of the amount of races we do.
Yeah, well, I would say we're in alignment with F1 for sure. NASCAR, I don't know. Maybe
38. I think NASCAR do for the year, off the top of my head. And we're doing between 2 and 3 every weekend.
Yeah.
From 13. So it's close. I'd have to do the math and really look at it. But the thing is, we don't need long ass weekends. If we just had a singular race on a Sunday, had the qualifying on the Saturday, we could actually get some airtime to Super 2 and probably bring in swap with the Trans Am guys when the Super 2 guys aren't racing, and have them in doing the same thing. So they race and get plenty of eyeballs on the Saturday. And then you get a qualifying session of supercars, and then we go big on the Sunday with a big ass race and really push these guys to the limits. I don't know. I just think a 2-day weekend, because when you listen to Shane, he just says, it's so much better. Like, even though we're every weekend, I actually have time off in between.
Well, it is an AI summary, but I just thought I'd check. We have 34 races, right? With all the numbers added up.
Yep.
13 rounds, obviously, this year. 34 races. 36 races for NASCAR, apparently.
There you go.
So you were right.
There you go. I was what? Sorry, I'm not used to those words coming out of anyone's mouth.
I didn't hear any of it, mate.
It's recorded.
Damn. No, but you're right. Like, they're two less, and I would not have picked that. And it's just
so. This comes back to what I put on socials, right? Whereby we get overstimulated by too much and get bored by the end of it throughout a weekend, right? Because I will self-confess, that last race, I was out after about 12 laps. I'd had enough. I had things to do, things around the house and sorting stuff. So I didn't watch the remaining of that race. So there comes a point where you're actually doing too much in a small confined time. So we need to work out a better play, whether that's 2 races only per weekend, or whether that's one long race. I mean, I know we've done the long races and people will come at me in the comment, that was so boring, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but there are things that you can do to spice them up. I mean, you only have to, I use NASCAR way too often, but you only have to look at NASCAR to see how they spice up their racing from a long race to almost a series of short races within the one. There's ways. There are ways. And I'd like to see this sort of happen. I don't know how to do it. And, money's a big thing. And I get that traveling's hard and all that. But Yeah, there's got to be a way.
I think they have to figure out and realize or make the choice. Are they in the business of raw entertainment, or are they in the business of the live show? Now, I use those words. I was thinking about while you're talking, pretty particular, because you like NASCAR, you can still have a great in-person at the track event if you go to NASCAR, but really the way they package it, it works really well for the TV and for people watching. And I think if you think about, I'm in Townsville or I go to Townsville, 3 days of racing is a lot, but it does feel like, hey, I'm going to get my money's worth. I bought a weekend ticket. I get races every day. Like, you know, I can come and go to the track maybe, so I can just come for the race on the Friday, or maybe just the Saturday, do other stuff on the weekend. Like, I think there was some logic that they went through to get that outcome.
Yeah.
But in reality, squash it into 2 days, make it a solid, freaking event. It won't matter. And you won't lose all that stuff on the eyeballs for the TV.
No, exactly. And I really think it comes back to, like Shane was talking about, the teams turning up on Tuesday or a Wednesday prior to an event and not leaving until like a Monday evening. That's a full week, right?
Yep.
How much less would it cost to turn up on a Friday, qualify on the Saturday, race on the Sunday, and then leave?
Yeah.
Like, I just, there has to be some thought go into it, because I think there is definitely a way. Yes, it's going to cost in other ways. I accept that. But I do think that what you save from not being there for another 4 odd days would be better invested getting to the next track.
Yeah. Because you don't
to
have
keep
to
the
pay
show rolling.
for, you have to pay for all the personnel to stay that period of time. So the teams save money, Supercars save money. They don't have to have the TV stuff there for as long.
But you think about live TV, like all of us complain about there's not live TV, right? Now, if this was more like footy, where it's weekly almost, doesn't have to be weekly all the time, but more or less weekly, it's in the news. So then they're more likely to run stuff on it because it's relevant. It's happening consistently. So you probably get a bit more of a free TV coverage coming into it to run it. I don't know. As I said, there's a lot, and this is a big moving part. So don't for 1 second. This is an easy, you flick a switch and go and do these things. It's definitely not that. But I do think it's time that they sit down and really, so Warbo, if you're watching, which I know you're not, but if you are or ever do, please sit down and start planning this stuff out and start thinking about how we can improve this sport and really get people back involved, and how we can get ticket pricing slightly down so that people return to the track. Because I don't care if you tell me there was 100,000 people at that track last weekend. I saw 5.
Yeah. Well, it's the usual thing, right? Where they claim, so they probably sold the capacity at the stadium, whatever you want to call it, the track, I should say, is probably like 40,000, 45,000. And then the 100,000 is the 45 on the Sunday, maybe 40, 35 on the Saturday, and 15 or whatever. Like the number is always elongated, and they're not wrong in claiming that number because they're doing it across the event. But by the same token, in reality, a footy match at a stadium, you have that one point in time, and that's how many turned up.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that because it would look shocking.
Yeah. And I think if you like, it goes back to that. If you just had that racing on the Sunday, even if there was 2 races on the Sunday, for instance, everyone would turn up on the Sunday and you would have full capacity and it would look spectacular again, right? Because it just doesn't look, it looks like a grassroots sport in some cases, not all the time, but
state racing.
it's like, well, I don't know. This is our premier sport, right? So why isn't it premier? And what can we do to fix it? I don't know. I've gone on an absolute tangent and wasted all of the interweb. So yeah, back to what was happening over the weekend, mate, where we were talking about Golding becoming a stunt driver. But
you know who movie world stunt driver. Yep.
yeah. But you know who seemed to strike the unlucky chord again was Courtney. He blew up a motor when he was in like what, 5th, 6th? How good a BRT looking?
Man, like they obviously made the changes, and it is showing that whatever they've done, both from a procedural, structural, personnel, all that stuff, they've obviously made changes. It's working. They're starting to get up the grid. And then you can't write these scripts. Like he just must have felt like, I can't believe it. You know, they get a podium that like all these things are moving in forward momentum, and then like the engine goes like, I do wonder whether or not there was any over rev on there, because he did say there was a radio comms, which of course the commentators talk over because they don't know, but I'm sure he said sorry at one point, and I was just like, you've talked on these podcasts about how you're a bad over rever, like you know. I hope it wasn't, you know, too many of those in excitement, but
possible,
mate. You still like these engines, like they shouldn't go. And of course, when he's having success, they go.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's frustrating, right? Because you want BRT. They are such the underdog team now. Where you just, when they go well, everyone's happy. So you just, they go, BRT's back. Courtney in his last year. But yeah, I was like, he's doing so well, and that car looks great in that livery still. I hope they run it for the rest of the year. It just looks so freaking good on track.
So good.
But yeah, so that was unlucky, and then we have Chaz, who made up some obscene amount of positions to finish 4th in that.
Woody and him combined was 31 or 32 positions. They I think 31, because Woody, I think it was 14 or 15 for Chaz and 16 for, it was just like whatever the other way around. But like, that was just insane. Like, what is going on with their quali?
I don't know.
Certainly the original messaging about that chassis change, it's a rotation, we're putting this one there ready for the Super, we're doing this. And then in the post-race chat, Chaz is like, no, we just wanted to go back to make sure we could validate some of the performance stuff. And like, sure enough, he was having much better luck in well, when you say luck, he didn't qualify well, but he performed much better in that chassis. So what has happened to that replacement or that newer chassis that is causing him to have the dramas?
There must be something in it. I mean, just don't know what. It's really hard to say, but he does seem much more comfortable in this one for whatever reason. You'd think that the new chassis would have development on it that would improve it over the old one, considering, because I think that was the first one they ever rolled out from memory. It's still the original car. So I don't know. It is an odd one. It's a bit of a unicorn, isn't it? The whole thing's a bit of a unicorn.
It is. But at least they improved their pit stops, right?
Correct.
WAU were much better.
Yep.
I will call out some of the commentary team. I think there was a couple of them that said, just in time for enduro seasons. And, but the one thing we have to remember is the churns aren't there for the enduros.
No.
So they're going back to the old system. So it's, again, changing their processes. So I hope it doesn't wreck anything. But I'm hoping,
Yeah, so here's actually, I think I'm going to talk about this in one of my key points, if I remember correctly, about the fuel churn. So we'll get into that a bit later. Because there's still a fundamental issue with the Mustang and the way you have to connect it, especially in enduros. But I think there's also, anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. So the other person I wanted to touch on, and team actually, is the new homologation team for Chevrolet, mate, which is the Team 18, who suddenly seem to be just finding pace out of nowhere, getting the go fast bits, I think. So ADP had a good showing, but Davey Reynolds, feeling sick, landed pole.
Yeah, still managed to get pole. Didn't actually race that well.
No.
Cast it up. He just, like the tires, he just looked like he burnt through them. Couldn't maintain them in the same way and just fell back. But yeah, great from Anton to kind of show some speed. And it did make me put the tinfoil hat on. I just thought, I wonder if, much like the Ford stuff going to Triple Eight early, I wonder if some of those go fast bits from Triple Eight that make them great have been kind of passed down already to Team 18.
Are you saying there might be a discrepancy between the teams, mate, and what they get?
No,
I mean, that's outrageous.
I'm just saying that, like, Triple Eight managed to, in a car that is very limited in what you can do, always have a fast car. So there are things you can still do, not illegally, but that you can do, that maybe even their customer cars don't get.
Engineering an advantage, you think?
It just seems very strange that from a team that were effectively at the start of the year, were at the back and were struggling, that as soon as that announcement happened, they have had renewed performance. And I hope it's all I don't think it's illegal or anything. I'm not saying that. No. I'm just saying that, yeah, there's certainly been something that's passed along, because they have gone from, 2 out of 10 to a 7 or an 8 out of 10 with their performance.
Yep, absolutely. They definitely got the pace. Davey and Anton chewed through their tires pretty rapidly, so there's obviously still a little bit of work to be done on understanding whatever it is that has helped. But it's good to see somebody else up there. I will say that, because it's getting pretty tiring after 20 years of Triple Eight. To be fair, it gets a bit long in the tooth. But another one that I also wanted to talk about, and this is a real shout out, because I feel like this guy, he's kind of like Todd Hazelwood. You just like him. He's just a nice guy. He's a good steerer, but he just often ends up not in the wrong spot, but wrong areas at the wrong time type thing. And that's Bryce Forward. Brycey Forward, I think, was his name by a few other people over the weekend. But his recent pace has been really good across Darwin. I can't remember if he was good at Perth or not, but Darwin and Townsville in particular, he's been right there. He had a 5th on the Friday. He got 9th. So he got 11th in the second race and a 9th in the final one. So that's almost 3 top 10s. And now he's banging on the door of that 10 and getting into finals.
Yeah. Yeah. He's absolutely, like, since that announcement of them going to Toyota, there's been another few of those drivers in that team that have all stepped up and really jumped over Andre, to be honest, who seems to be struggling a little bit, but everyone else has really pushed forward, and Bryce has been much, much better. So it's great to see, obviously a young kid that effectively would have been a better option for WAU to keep if you think about hindsight, because Percat took his spot, which every day you would say, yep, Percat is the one you want in there. And that never worked out for WAU, and probably could have helped Bryce in his career. But I think he's quite happy at BJR and doing enough to try and secure his seat for the future.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There is a little bit of rumor mill that he might be the one that drops for next year if there is one. So that's unfortunate if that does occur, because I think he's a standout performer. And that is why, as we sort of move through into recapping useless predictions, Damo, I put him, and I don't know if you agree, I assume you do, but I put him down as our standout performer from the weekend.
Yeah. Well, I guess on that kind of predictions recap, we thought about, let's just have someone that we can put in there and nominate that might be outside the results. And I thought Jack LeBrock, just based on his runnings there. Well, like he had these moments where he was like, "Oh, he's got pace. He's going to be all right," and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?"
What happened?
You had Kai Allen, who wasn't too bad.
He was okay,
overall.
but he wasn't a standout.
Yeah, and then I was like, when we came to the post weekend, I was like, how is Steve going to measure
Going to
this?
adjudicate this.
And when you put Bryce forward in there and you have a look through the results and like against everyone else, when you actually look at the tables, and you're like, yeah, Fettingham, that's a great choice, I think.
Yeah, just towed up his teammates and secured almost 3 top 10s. I mean, you just BJR. I don't care what you say; they're not a top level team. They're more or less the back, occasionally in the mid. And when you are banging in the 10, you know,
it's good.
Race in, race out. That's a great result. So Bryce forward, well done, mate. Our standout performer for Townsville 500, and that's about as exciting as it's going to get because our predictions, Damien, are freaking washed. Chaz and Woody both had great pace throughout the weekend, but never really did anything with it. And we had Payne. And look, Maddie's probably the one that we maybe should touch on, and Penrite as a whole, because are they the most consistent forward team now? They're certainly in second in the teams championship.
I would say, based on all metrics, that they definitely are. More consistent across quality racing, more consistent over the past 4 probably rounds, off the top of my head at least. By far, yeah. And that second in the championship is kudos to them. They've just kept going, and that's largely part of Matt being strong, but Kai stepping up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kai's still, that was the first time he's been to Townsville, I think. So,
first time he's gone to Townsville.
First time Townsville. So there's a lot that, I think is quite interesting happening with that team. And I like the fact that they improved their pit stops a great deal over the weekend compared to what happened in Hidden Valley. But I think there's a lot of teams now, that's probably their next big thing, other than finding that last 10th or 2 that they need to really become a weapon. Those pit stops need to be clean and consistent, and then they'll really be a pain in the ass for Triple Eight and anyone else. So, but it was good to see them. So so we really went forward heavy with Woody and Payne, but at the end of the day, it was Broc Feeney who got all the wins aside from one that Brody did.
Brody on the Friday. Obviously, Reynolds got that top 10 shootout pole, which was fantastic. But then it was just Broc Feeney.
Yep.
That was all Broc, and he just is absolutely showing that domination at the moment where he's taking it to his teammate. So, yeah.
And just to go back to the standout performer, and the reason why it's Bryce Forward and not Broc Feeney is that Broc Feeney should be doing what he does in the equipment that he has, whereas the standout performer is about somebody who's overachieving for what they usually would. And I think that's more to the point. So very good. Well, based off that, mate, I think we're done with our predictions and we can move on to a few news and topics around the traps, but we'll go into our key talking points, our 6 key talking points of the Supercars Townsville 500. Damien, what is your first?
Well, my first one, we have to celebrate, and we have to say, finally, Kostecki in 2025 grabs a win for DJR. It was great to have him added, to the honor roll of DJR winners, and it was what I thought for the start of the weekend was like, this is fantastic. He's got it. We know what Brody's like. Once he gets on a bit of a rhythm and a roll, he just keeps pumping them out. Didn't quite eventuate. Didn't quite eventuate that way. But I think it was good just to get the monkey off the back and kind of just sit there and go, right, well, we have achieved a win. Yep, we've still got work to do. But I'm really hoping, especially next round at Ipswich, they have an absolute blinder.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of people hoping that because the sheer domination of the 88 at the moment is probably getting long in the tooth for everyone bar fans of the 88. But yeah, I agree. It was fantastic for Brody. 88.
You dropped an 8?
I'm talking about Broc Feeney's car.
Oh, 88. Of course.
Yep. Not the 888 of the team, but yeah, because it's really Broc that's dominating right now. But yeah, look, Brody, mate, well done. It clearly meant a lot to you because you could really see it, and that's fantastic to see because that just means you're bleeding DJR now. And you know, we love having you on board, and hopefully, as you said, come Queensland Raceway, he can have a really solid weekend where it's more consistent. He did say, I think in one of his interviews, he knows he's had this feeling before in the car, and he thinks he knows what it is to sort out. So let's hope that he and George can get that sorted.
Yep.
And yeah, I suppose this transgresses to my first talking point, Damien. And it's kind of a depressing one. It's Triple Eight's ability to keep winning, and which I find astonishing. I'm not just talking about this season, mate. I am talking back 20 years of domination when you look at this team. I think we counted 6 championships that they haven't won in that 20-year spout. And the Bathurst count is almost similar in the way that this has happened and unfolded. And it has to, you can tell me that, you know, the drivers have talent and everything else, but there is something that this team does somehow, some way that just makes them win week in, week. We have not seen, I don't think you see this level of domination in any other sport, not even in motorsport around the world. This just doesn't happen. And what do people need to do now to really rein these guys in? Because it's ridiculous how much they've won in that period.
Yeah, I know you had that realization and kind of shared it in the group chat and started doing the numbers and having a look at who'd won and when you actually stop and reflect on it, it is, well, I guess when they're with the Ford teams, when they were, you know, back in the Falcons, we loved it. And that was kind of before they kind of became the evil team, in my opinion, because they did the switch, move to the GM product. And like their engineering department, they've always done, you know, and it is kudos to Roland for always making sure they have all the sponsors paying the right money so they can pay for the right staff to engineer the best car they could. And it's, I don't know what everyone else can do. I'll touch on something in my next talking point about it, but I'm not sure what else people can do because, it's just not happening at the moment, is it?
No, it's not. And I mean, I'm not for changing to try and pull them back or anything like that. I'm not suggesting that should happen or any of that, but it poses a valid question because we talk about being relevant consistently, you know, supercars needing to be relevant. But if the same story comes out from the weekend every time, it's hard for people to get on board. So, you know, and I know I keep talking about NASCAR, but almost every weekend, other than Shane dominating at the moment, that is a different winner. Right? It's very rare to see, you know, any more than 3 wins from a bloke in that category. And somehow we kind of need to get there. I don't know how, because it really relies on the other teams to lift their game and really come to town on it. But it's hard. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of like a little bit the shoes on the other foot, because we used to hear these kind of complaints and arguments through the Scotty McLaughlin period, right?
Yeah.
And I guess the part that is different, in my opinion, the part that is different is the simple fact that at that point, yes, there was great money, great support engineering, all that stuff from Penske into DJR, but it was always Scotty that was able to elevate that car above his teammates. So it was never the both of them kind of pushing up there. It was always first and third at best. You know, sometimes Coulthard would manage to get a second, sometimes he took a win. But it was very rare that both cars were just up there all the time.
Yeah.
And so when we're in the Ford camp, we used to say to the Holden people, we'd be like, yeah, but it's like one car and one excellent driver.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you know, a great point you made earlier before we started the pod was just about Feeney's time that he's had to kind of nurture and go so slow, because in any other team he would have been turfed out for having 2 or 3 years of basically nothing. You know, he's had a few wins, a few good results. But 4 years before he actually turns into the driver everyone promised us. And that's kind of like when Brown, the last year's championship winner, is having an awful season, but has only now just dropped to third place. That shows you the difference from that team versus an excellent driver and a good team.
Yeah. I think, you're right. I mean, actually, I think he's gone back up to second after his.
Of course, because he won the second race.
Okay, second. Yeah. So I think, so he's gone up to second again. But you're right. When you can have a turd of a season and still be there.
Yeah.
That shows you there's it's not like these other teams when they have turds. When Triple Eight have turds, it's not really like it's good for most. So it is. It's hard. I don't know. But anyway, maybe we should get on to your second key talking point.
Yes.
We'll be here all night.
We will. And mine is kind of off the back of your point as well, right? And it's like, despite we see at certain moments during practice, or some of the qualies, we do see some great mix. Oh God! Now, pardon me. We see some good mix in the results, right? We see different names, different drivers popping up, and it feels like kind of everyone's got a chance, etc. You know, like the forward results, he sort of got there kind of in the races, but you know, like you got Courtney in the qualies and the practices doing really well. But basically, when the rubber hits the road for the races, it's always the same group of basically 3, maybe 4 teams that are up there, with obviously Red Bull top of the pops. Yep. And it's just like, you know, you did that kind of analysis on who's won the majority of them and how, you know, dominating that beam. But like Gen 3 was really meant to balance the field. And when push comes to shove, the final 10th for qualies and stuff and for race pace, it's still just Triple Eight and the next best Ford team mostly. Okay. Yep. Whichever team that tends to be, whether it's WAU or Penrite.
Yep.
And then everyone else. And we haven't really seen, I guess, that shake up that we were hoped and promised from Gen 3.
We haven't seen the fight. There's like when Scotty and Shane were going at it.
Yeah.
For those 3 years, when it was DJR Penske versus Triple Eight, you had a full-on fight. Now, yes, those two dominated that time with Win Cup, luckily picking up that 17 championship. But that was a full-on fight between them, with Tickford popping their head in occasionally and stuff.
Yeah.
It still remains similar in that sense, but there's no real. I don't believe there's no real fight against anyone else. Nobody's been able to, like when Brody won in 23, nobody was going to catch him. He wasn't. Yeah, nobody had anything on him. Whatever Erebus did at that time worked. And then again, the the year after, Brown goes to AAA.
Yep.
And absolutely, like, yeah, okay, you can argue that Chaz had a chance, but the moment, and we knew it even before we got there, the moment the Enduros hit, even though we were hoping, it was over.
It was over. Yep.
There was nothing that anyone could do because no Ford product on the track could actually take a fight at those places. Not at Sandown, not at Bathurst. And it's again this year. Yes, it's more competitive than what it's been the last two. I will give them that. You know, there is improvements on engines and everything, and we're trying to get into that right area. And I'm trying very hard not to use that other word. Yeah, but at the same time, we have missed a fight for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years of relatively average racing. You know, the best race we've had this year was the freaking first one. And we thought that we were going to get that throughout. And look, it's been a bit better. I'm not going to say it's been absolutely dire, but since Perth, it's been pretty dire. And again, I don't want to take away from Feeney because he's doing an outstanding job and doing, you know, what he is paid to do. And I think that's fantastic, and congratulations to him. But for the category right now, it's definitely not what it needs or wants. In a year where the final system, and look, probably saving grace, we have a final system.
Correct.
That might give us something. But this, I mean, this isn't a talking point, and I don't know how you feel about it. I'd love to know what the general public feel about it too. The Sprint Cup and the Enduro Cup, I think, is a wank. I think it's irrelevant. I don't care. I'm not interested in who wins the Sprint Cup, or, you know, I'm only interested in who makes the 10 and who gets to the finals, which brings me back to the win and in type scenario, where you accumulate points based on your wins for the finals campaign. And look, that would still put Broc well and truly ahead. And that's absolutely fine. I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, like I don't know, the Sprint Cup to me is absolutely irrelevant. I don't really give two shits about it.
Well, I think just to close this one off is that I think the Sprint Cup winner is irrelevant in my opinion. It's just a way of rewarding the first half of the season, right? So not letting it slip, not letting, you know, someone who's done all the work not get rewarded. I think the Enduro Cup could be interesting. It has the potential to be really relevant because, I mean, you know, James Courtney, they're finding form. We fixed the Bathurst stuff for Fords. Like, he could come away as a Enduro Cup winner, so someone that's outside of the 10, that's further down. I mean, that has a great storyline, has a great, you know, sort of mix up to what's actually happening.
Yeah,
so I still think there's potential for the Enduro, but the Sprint Cup, I mean, it's just basically, you've done the best job in the first half of the season. Here you go. Here's a participation trophy and get yourself in for the first one. And then,
And sorry, Damo, I think we've just sort of covered your third talking point as I've just
realized.
I know. It's okay. I'll go back to my second talking point. And look, we've kind of covered this anyway earlier in the Penrite Racing crew, and the fact that they've taken a step. Their consistency as a Ford team now is that they're at the top, as seen by the fact that they've moved to second. If they can retain that going into the Enduros, they are in prime time positioning to really annoy a few. You know, I watch this team with great interest. I mean, I know I've been a massive fanboy of Matty Payne ever since we met him when he came into the series, as Damo dies. But I am really intrigued because, you know, Tander's quick, Payne is quick. It'll be fascinating to see how they go.
Yeah.
So that anyway, we'll make that one a very short one.
I agree with that one. Yep.
Do you as we talked about the final series heating up around the 10?
Yeah,
it's freaking close, man. That's
it
your
was
third
it was my third talking point. Yeah, that we kind of we've been rambling a little bit this one, but it is heating up around that 10, and I'm glad that the coverage is putting more emphasis and they're really tracking some of those cars more, because there were points of the weekend when I was actually more interested in where was Anton versus Woody, where was Woody versus like those on the cuff, if you like.
Yep.
I was concentrating more on those drivers than what was happening at the front, because it's going to get real tight, and it's actually quite good to see some of those drivers that are in that starting to really like drive like it depends on it. So I think that it's already looking like it's going to be a success for implementing the final series. And I think, we'll see what happens at Ipswich, but, great potential.
I agree. I think that is the talking point of Sprint Cup, not the guy who's actually winning it. And what I would really like to see from Supercars is graphics around those 10, and watching those guys and where they're placed so that we can follow them and actually buy into that journey, because that is huge and they are close. Like there is from like 7th back to like 4th, it's close, right? The points can switch in every way. Woody is currently 10th, but only by like the smallest of margins. So that is the talking point. So thank you for bringing that up, Damien. I think that is key. And I will finish off.
Round it out.
This is the third and final talking point before we get into the news around the traps. And I know this is a bit of a long one, guys, but thank you if you are tuning in, because, and we want to know, please just start chatting to us, because we want to know your thoughts on this as well. My third key talking point and the last one is the battle of pit lane and the penalty surrounding it. We saw Waters over the weekend get released, slot in, and leave the pit with no issue, and yet he got a penalty.
Because the rules state if the car behind brakes, and we've seen it so many times. Contact is a pretty simple one, but it's also reliant if the car has to brake, and we've seen it so many times where the car brakes when they probably don't need to. But it's like bang, instant. And you got to ask yourself, sorry, I've got a lolly in my mouth to try and stop me from coughing too much. But like you got to ask yourself, at what point does some of this more discretion that they've been applying throughout the year need to have happened in that instance?
If
that makes sense.
I just don't. I think we're over adjudicating in some areas, and I think this is one of them. I know we need safety. Safety is paramount for team, crew, all that sort of stuff. But I just unless there is actually like someone's been pivoted in the pit lane, I really don't see a reason. These guys are in battle. They're trying to get positions. I want them to try and jump in the pits, not, it's, I don't know. I just feel like, I watch, and again, I've been watching a lot of NASCAR, so this is probably where my problem lies.
Come on, mate.
But they're in, they're out. There is no, blend here, blah, blah, that, unless it's fair dinkum, you've pivoted somebody into a fence. Like, you're not getting penalized. And I think maybe we don't need to go that far. There still needs to be some OH&S involved. But in the case of like Waters, where somebody has to hit the brake for 0.02 of a second, play on.
Let it go.
That's perfect, right? He's gotten in. He's slotted exactly where he should be. just let it go. And I think this will be big going into Enduros, just quietly.
Yeah. We're going to see obviously a lot more pit stops. We're going to see a change from churn to the bigger rigs. So it's going to become, no doubt, as we know, Scaife and Crompton will make it one, a massive talking point. So expect to see the pass to Larko to go through the differences between churn and the Bowser, and that little story to unfold. Just prep yourself now for it.
No.
And we're going to now finally move to the last section where we're going to talk about what's been happening in the news.
Yes.
And some of it we have covered. Obviously, SVG had absolute dominance over the road courses. The Americans are losing their mind a little bit about it. They're just, your words you said to me was that they just sound defeated. They've given up.
I listened to a couple of the Dirty Mo podcasts and so forth, and just listening to some of the drivers, they, like one of them actually turned around and said, "I never played basketball and I never went against Michael Jordan, but I can imagine this is what it was like." Referencing someone that great who played basketball and comparing that to what SVG is doing on road courses there, I think that speaks volumes to where they are, where they are at, and where SVG is in terms of driving capability in that category right now. Now, he did get done over, Damo, on the Saturday in the Xfinity race by his teammate, Connor Zilic, the young, I think he is actually 18. The young Charger, and he got the job done. Now, the difference between Connor and anyone else, and this is big, Connor went to Europe to race for a brief in go-karting, and I don't know if he did any other formula and stuff, but so he actually learned to race, not properly, I won't say properly, that sounds harsh, but to turn left and to turn right and understand it. Yeah. And he's able to apply that well enough to be competitive with SVG in the Xfinity race. And I think that's fantastic. I like the fact that there's a young dog and a new dog. Yeah. Like an old dog, sorry, not new dog. But in the fight, and they both seem to have quite a lot of respect. SVG gave him a couple of touch-ups here and there, but nothing, they didn't wreck him or anything like that. He just gave him a couple of touch-ups, and Connor was good enough to place the car well and hold on to the win. I'll say this, if Connor comes into the Cups series next year, which is rumored to do with Trackhouse, it'll be really interesting to see how that dynamic unfolds, because we know that SVG won't take it sitting down anyone who comes up against him, and he'll try and make sure that he covers them off, especially on road courses.
He's absolutely just popped out of not nowhere, but he really has. And just double checked, so 18 years of age. On the 22nd of July, he'll be 19. So he's just shy of 19 at the moment. So
unbelievable effort.
A great effort. All right, mate. Let's chat about IndyCar, because
another domination happening there.
It is.
So Chip Ganassi driver Alex Palou, his I can't remember the actual points, but he is miles ahead, mate. Like he's so far down the road, it's not funny. But again, he had another fairly dominant weekend. He finished 4th on the Saturday race, and he won the Sunday race. Again, just finds himself, his worst is a 4th. That's pretty mind-blowing. Scotty Mack had a disaster in qualifying with actually a little bit of pace on board. He lost the back end of his car and put it in the fence, and then recovered to 4th from the back in that first race, but he got undone in the next race quite early on and found himself back in the fence and not finishing. So not having a good run, the Penske crews at the moment in any form of motorsport, Damien.
No,
they seem to be
struggling.
either getting done over for technicalities or just struggling for pace in general. So that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, they certainly have not done themselves any favors with people who already dislike Penske and their organization with some of the stuff that's happened in the past. But yeah, with different categories getting technical breaches, etc. And then obviously since removing some of those key personnel that have been there for years, they have fallen away in the IndyCar for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's switch up and go back to local news in the supercars world. And yes, we've covered a lot of supercars, but there's a last sort of three things that we want to cover off here. And one is an interesting one which popped up, I think it was yesterday, is young Cameron Hill, who's not that young, but who drives for MSR. He's actually exploring his options, which I find fascinating because MSR seem to be such a good fit. So I don't know why he'd be looking, but MSR are keen to keep him and want to get a contract down, but he's looking at offers.
Yeah, well, I find it staggering that that he wouldn't be happy there. They obviously delivered him a race win, right? Yep. So yeah, they've been a bit hit and miss and a bit up and down since then. But by the same token, I'm not really sure which other teams would be sort of looking at his services.
No. Unless he's getting into a Tickford or a DJR or even 888. I don't know why you'd be looking to go anywhere else. I mean, he could potentially go to Team 18, I guess, if he, as Damien turns back on, he could definitely go to like a Team 18 if Reynolds ends up being evicted at the end of the year. That might be the only other move that you would make, but I just don't see anything opening up in any of the bigger teams to really take him any further forward than he already is.
Yeah, there's definitely some talk because AVL was talking about there's 6 possible seats or something.
Yeah, I heard that. Heard that. That's an interesting one.
Because, I couldn't think of too many people that were on the move, but then sometimes it's hard to know which of the teams have contracts coming up, which drivers, I should say, have contracts coming up. So, I mean, like WAU seems secure, 888 seems pretty secure. So, possibly DJR, possibly a few others. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. So you just got to, I mean, I wouldn't think Will Davison would be going anywhere just yet or anything like that. But yeah, I guess there's a possibility that he's seeing that he wants to investigate. So we'll just keep our ear to the ground on that one and see what happens. And the other news is also Chevy aiming to strengthen their teams by hosting a summit in the US for key individuals. Apparently all these individuals will have to pay their own way there. But if they can get there, they'll be privy to like the NASCAR program, leading technical facilities, and shown around like Trackhouse Racing or hosted by Trackhouse Racing at one of the events. So sounds like Chevy's getting busy trying to open their arms a bit and at least be seen to be being more involved than what they have been recently. So I suppose that's a good thing.
Yeah, I guess it's a little better than somewhere in Tasmania that the Ford camp did. And paying your own way, I think most of those teams, as long as timing works for them, like why wouldn't you go and learn what you can from the NASCAR program and some of the technical stuff they can learn? That'd be a great trip. And it's what Chevy need to do. We have mentioned in the past when the announcement happened that, 888 leaving is a big hole, and they're going to need those teams to take a massive step to push forward to be, giving Chev a chance at winning. So I think it's fair play to them. Well done.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great thing. And it shows that they're committed. Earlier in the year when the Ford thing and the 888 thing were announced, we were really wondering whether they would just disappear. And it did seem like at some point that may be a possibility. So, sorry.
Excuse me. Now you.
Now me. Yeah, that's it. but yeah, like it's great to see that they're involved. I mean, we still want them involved. We've got to beat someone. So yeah, to have them regrouping and coming in, I think that's good. All right. So the last thing we're going to talk about today, and thank you to everyone who has lasted the distance. If you have lasted the distance, put in the comment below. Let's go with Coyote. Put Coyote. Comment Coyote if you've lasted this. So that's a special word. We're going to just throw it in there. I just want to see if you actually made it this far. But yeah, comment below, Coyote. Right. So the last thing we're talking about, Ryan Walkinshaw has stated that the first Supra should be on track in late August. It's still unclear on what the engine is going to look like or what's actually being run. Plenty of people will be trying to capture that at the moment it hits the track, and it was a giant surprise to Brucey when he was asked about it.
He was very much caught unaware when he was asked that question. He said, "Oh, you know, your boss has said this in a TV telecast." And he's like, "Oh, did he? Oh, great. Okay." He really felt like perhaps that Ryan might have dropped the news that wasn't probably meant to be out there just yet.
Still under embargo.
But I will say they need to start, and I think others have said it in pods and stuff, that they need to start drip feeding. If they want to build the fan base to it, they've got to do what Supercars started to do in the tail end of Gen 3 build. Start delivering some of that stuff. Hey, sneak peeks of the engine. Hey, this is what we've found. You know, shadowy stuff that's, you know, of the way the car's going to look, or hints towards things. They need to start building it because they want this momentum. They want people to buy the shirts. They want people to continue to follow them. They need to step that social and engagement level up a fair bit.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. We want to start seeing the car, like start showcasing us a little bit of, you know, the fender or just something so we can actually whet our appetite around it. Like, I'm not a big Supra fanboy, but at the end of the day, I still want to see what the car's going to look like. Sorry, apparently it's catching through digital,
through the interwebs,
through the interwebs. We want to see what it looks like, and I want to know when it's hitting the track so I can get trackside if possible to take a photo or two. But yeah, no, it'll be fascinating once it does hit the track. I'm looking forward to it. I know many are. I think that's great. It's great news that we might be just over a month away from seeing the first one, you know, on track, and that's awesome.
That's exciting. It's exciting.
It is.
On that,
is what we've got for you today. Big one today. Thanks, Damo, because I know you're not 100%, and it's always hard to get through that man flu. It is the worst flu you can ever have.
It's diabolical.
But yeah, thanks to you guys. If you have gotten to here, remember, Coyote, if you got this far, I want to see it. Put it in the comments. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. Click the icon button, the bell it is. And obviously, Damien, who would they follow?
They would follow at the Valve Bounce everywhere, because we got it. We got it on Facebook if you're old like us. We've got it on Instagram. We've got it on X. We've Twitter, whatever it is.
X.
Who cares? And we're obviously on YouTube. So give us a follow. Engage with us. We'd love to speak with you and see your comments on the stupid stuff that we say. But other than that, we'll see you
in the next one.
All right, guys.